Thank you for coming to our presentation on upholding the sanctity of marriage in light of no-fault divorce. My name is Bai Macfarlane, and I got involved in this because my husband filed for a no-fault divorce against me. And it's been quite an eye-opening experience. He left in the summer of 2003, and my first reaction was absolute horror. I had spent many hours curled up on the floor in the fetal position crying. My son, who was 11 at the time, heard me crying. All my kids heard me crying. My friends and family tried to be a support to me, but there wasn't much you could do about it. I found out that anyone who goes through this tells me they share the same experience. The Bible says that divorce is tearing something asunder. And an attorney I'm friends with in the divorce reform movement said that word asunder is the same word they used for when an animal would go after prey. It would rip its flesh off. And I've also was told that the experience is worse than having your spouse die, because you have the betrayal, but on top of that, you have the unknown future, and you have to deal with this person for the rest of your life. Then the court process started. The first thing that happened to me is my attorney had me sign papers, and when you're in an emotional wreck, you would hope that you could trust your attorney. But my attorney had me sign papers without even telling me that I was giving the court grounds for no-fault divorce. He didn't even tell me there was such a thing as a fault-based divorce. Then I'm told that a kid's attorney and a court guardian are going to get involved, and they're going to make parenting decisions from now on. The summer before my husband left, he was gone 60 out of 90 days. And I wouldn't say that we were getting along really, really well, but the experiences that we were having were no different from normal marriages, from what I'm told. We grew distant, we weren't connecting as much. I was disappointed about things where he was traveling a lot because of his responsibilities. I was getting more involved in the upbringing of the children. I was a stay-at-home mom. Well, what happened is this court guardian is telling me in the hallways at these pre-trial meetings, and it's not like what you see on TV where everyone is sitting there and they have representation. In pretrial meetings, the parties are in the hallway, and there's secret meetings with the judge, and we're not allowed to hear what's being said. We're not allowed to hear what the other side's attorney is saying about us or what this guardian is saying about us. So in these meetings, this kid's attorney, who is also a guardian, is telling me that if I want to get any money, I have to agree to a shared parenting plan. Shared parenting, from my perspective, is when you cut children in half. You make them go back and forth between two different households. It doesn't matter what they're used to. It doesn't matter what they want. It doesn't matter what the other parent is doing. The court couldn't have cared if my husband was living in a harem. It doesn't matter. That was my experience. So I did sign papers under the direction of my attorneys, and I didn't even know what I was signing. I gave my husband the summers. I didn't know I was giving my husband the summers. Nobody told me. Then I learned more about the law. And when I started asking my attorney questions about the law, he says, "Bae, don't ever let the kid's attorney or the court psychologist know that you're doing your own research about the law, because they'll say you're crazy." And what ended up happening is I didn't keep that attorney. And about 3 months later, a court report from the court psychologist did come out. And the same time that this was going on the court paperwork, I'm being accused of extreme cruelty and gross neglect of duty, which are typical grounds in Ohio for divorce. But I was innocent, and I thought in the United States, aren't you innocent until proven guilty? And when I had questioned my first attorney about this, actually all the attorneys that I've talked to about this say, in Ohio, it doesn't matter. They don't care if you're innocent. And I would have to wait my 1 year before I would ever get any kind of hearing. I wanted a hearing early on because we had extended friends and extended family and friends who wanted to give the judge some information about what was going on in our family. And at the final hearing, we had 3 of our children's godfathers, a godmother, some longtime friends, all testify that I should have custody, and it didn't matter. The court psychologist report also was against homeschooling. I had been a homeschooling mom, and the court psychologist said that homeschooling turns bad after 2nd grade. And to make a long story short, they took my kids away because I would not agree with the court psychologist that homeschooling was bad after 2nd grade. And what I'm finding out is I'm meeting other people in the same situation I'm in. And there isn't any help for us because you have this big court system, and we're kind of knocked out one at a time. And the general perception I've seen when I go trying to get help is people say, well, the general public perception, I should say, is, well, there's 2 sides to every story. Or well, your marriage just broke up. You know, you're both equally responsible because your marriage just ended. And my kids didn't necessarily want to go be with Dad. They wanted our family fixed. And in the beginning of this, my youngest, he was 2 at the time, after the visitation where they would leave, he would come home and he would cry a lot. And he'd say he hates me. And he'd hit me. He'd say, I hate you, Mommy. I hate you, Mommy. I'm like, Clete, why are you saying that? What's going on? And one time, I finally got him calm enough where he explained it. And he said, I hate you because you won't let Daddy come home. I'm like, that's not true, Clete. I love Daddy. I want Daddy to come home. But it didn't matter. And Clete now, he's 5. And since they took the kids away, after the homeschooling problem, and even after the hearing where godfathers and everyone testified I should have custody, just a couple weeks ago, after I put them to sleep during one of my visitations, I hear him rustling, and he's kind of crying, and like he's having a nightmare. And I go next to him like, Clete, what's wrong? He's like, I want Mommy. I was like, Clete, I'm right here, I'm right here. No, I want Mommy every day. And what no-fault divorce does is it takes dedicated, capable parents, and it forcibly separates them from children a lot of the time. And if you want to fight it, they say you're crazy. And if you bring in witnesses, at least it doesn't matter. And we submitted a motion very early on saying that this just plain isn't justice. When my husband and I got married, we didn't marry according to this no-fault business. We married in accordance of the tradition of our church. And in our church, you don't separate the 2 people and tear them asunder. Maybe in cases of abuse or something, or if my husband was committing adultery all the time, I'd have a legitimate reason to be separated. That's what I agreed to when I got married. When I married my husband, my plan was what tradition in my church has said marriage is. It's for raising children. And we want to raise children with some good morals and good character formation. We want to raise them according to our religion. I brought one thing with me that I just want to read. This is some excerpts from the court psychologist report. And she was saying, I'm just going to read like a paragraph and a half. The youngest child, Cletus, is enrolled in a combination daycare preschool. His father reported that he's not had any difficulties with this adjustment. Ms. Macfarlane feels it is unnecessary that her youngest child is in daycare, considering the fact that she is home during the day. During her visit with Cletus, she asked him, where would you like to be during the day? School, Mom's house, or Dad's house? Cletus responded that he would like to be with his mother. Bai also asked Cletus in my presence, now this is from the psychologist's perspective, why aren't you at my house anymore? Cletus responded, because Daddy broke up our family. Now, in the psychologist's conclusions, she says, it's obvious that Ms. Macfarlane cares deeply for her sons and is passionate regarding her beliefs towards their education. I understand that this divorce has been very difficult for her. It's problematic, however, that Ms. Macfarlane continues to promulgate ideas in her children. Of great concern are her interactions with Cletus in my office. Specifically, she encouraged Cleet to say that his father was breaking up their family. Also of great concern is the fact that Ms. Macfarlane appeared to view this as a positive. She has not demonstrated that she has an understanding of how this is potentially very damaging. While it's the court's purview to determine visitation, it frightens me that she seems to have learned very little about children's adjustment to divorce based on her unwillingness to accept this divorce. I do not see any problems with Ms. Macfarlane having unsupervised overnight visitation with her children, provided she ceases from promulgating negative views of their father. According to the court psychologist, my faith is promulgating negative views to my children about their father, and that is the reason to take children away from me. And they've been doing this to dedicated parents for 30 years. And the reason we're putting on this presentation is because Ave Maria law professor Stephen Safranek says no more.